up, everybody? It's Soren Baker here on the Soren Baker Show. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe, download, and share this podcast because we're trying to bring you great interviews every week. And we're excited today because we're going to be taking a trip back in memory lane of what's going on in rap history, but also bringing it full circle and bringing it up to what's going on today, because the two gentlemen I have today are touring worldwide and domestically here in the United States, putting out new material and growing their fan base as they should.
Yes.
You know, keep it a moving, man. Today we have the pleasure of being joined by Money B and Young Hump. Thanks for coming through, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
What it do?
Yes,
brother.
Yes, man. I'm glad you guys could make it through here to the Soren Baker Show.
Yes.
And we got a lot to talk about. And one thing that this is a personal thing for me, and I've told this to Money B before, but the first concert I ever went to was Digital Underground, Public Enemy, Heavy D and the Boys, Chill Rob G, and Kid and Play, the Fear of a Black Planet tour, and it stopped by the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, and that was an amazing show. And you guys, you know, are touring worldwide and throughout the United States on a regular basis also. So, Money B, this for you specifically. I wanted to get from you, being that touring was a big deal for you guys back starting, I guess, in 1990 all the way up through to today. How have you seen the evolution of touring change throughout your career?
Evolution for artists from my generation, or just period?
Both.
Well, and if we're going to speak facts,
I like facts.
Facts.
Our first tour started in 1989, so this is 30 years of touring.
Talk about it.
For the Digital Underground family.
That's big.
You know, and when I say that, I mean consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think that since 1989 we've taken a full calendar year without some part of our crew touring and doing shows.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very proud of that fact.
Yeah, that's huge.
But as far as, you know, how touring has changed, I'm not sure that it has. You get in the van and you drive away and you, you jump out and you get on stage.
Well, one thing I've noticed, at least coming up in that era, if you just look on that bill that I talked about, the Fear of a Black Planet tour, you had Public Enemy, you had Digital Underground, you had Kid and Play, you had Heavy D and the Boys, and the other spot was rotating. Some shows I heard Big Daddy Kane was on, some shows I heard Kwame was on, but then the one in Maryland was Chill Rob G.
If I can interrupt you real quick, you know, you just jogged my memory. So what I do know that has changed, so you mentioned that tour.
Mm-hmm.
So think of all the bands that were on that tour. Public Enemy, Digital Underground, Chill Rob G, Kid and Play. We were all very different.
And that was my question.
You understand?
Now
it was just,
seems...
you know, it could be just a vast array of different styles and types of entertainment that was brought to you at this one concert. Now, you know, it's Future featuring Future 1, Future 2, Future 3, Future 4, Future 5.
Right.
You know, no disrespect to those artists, but you understand what I'm saying. Like,
I like Future 5.
There are so many.
Their fourth album's incredible.
It's like so many subgenres of hip hop now that, you know, and people it's kind of comical to me that people just say, oh, I only listen to this, you know, and they focus because they happen to like this style at the moment. In their mind, they go, this is all I'm listening to, and I'm going to be cool and only listen to this.
And what do you think made that change as the consumer?
As the consumer?
Yeah.
I believe that once hip-hop became a multi-billion-dollar industry, it allowed for companies to demand copies of the things that were successful. You understand? So
Gotcha.
when we were coming up, when Slick Rick was rocking, we couldn't be Slick Rick. You know, Shock wanted us to be militant, but there was Public Enemy. You know, you had to be original. If you weren't, then you were considered a biter, and you weren't accepted within the hip hop community. And it was a tight-knit community. And what I say about once it became a billion-dollar industry, you know, by the time 50 Cent became 50 Cent, the money was there, and companies wanted the easy route, like, oh, can I cuss?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
shit. 50 just did this. We need more 50 cents. And it was people that were like, hey, we'll take that money.
The Bulletproof Tour.
And it was easy to just be that. So once that happened, it opened the door for it to be okay to sound and be like someone else or the next artist. So therefore, if 50 Cent is rocking and you got 10 other 50 Cents that are semi-successful at that time when that sound is successful, they're all going to go on tour together because all the people that like 50 Cent and the other 50 Cents are going to come to that show.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So that's how that started.
And for Young Hump, for you,
Can I add one quick thing to that?
Please,
Just quick?
please.
I just want to say, and some of the elders explained to me that, like, now, for example, now you have, Coachella and things like that have different type of genres. But back in the 70s, at a place like the Palladium, you would have Aretha Franklin and a jazz artist
right?
the same night.
Yeah.
Whereas now you would never, ever see Estelle and the Roots or some shit, whatever. You would never.
Well, to your
Right.
point, another show that I saw, it had Salt and Pepper, the Ghetto Boys, and Rare Essence. So it was like, that's a very diverse lineup. You got female pop rap, you got the most
'cause-
hardcore Southern rap, and you got go-go artists.
So it was always like that. So, dating myself, my very first concert that I ever went to was
Louis Armstrong.
right.
Dizzy
No,
Gillespie.
it was Rick James.
Beethoven.
Rick James with Tina
Live.
Marie. Change when Luther Vandross was still in the band.
Wow.
And
Nice. Very nice.
the guy that sung Double Dutch Bus, I can't think of his name.
You're doing the Going Way Back show right here.
Right, but the Double Dutch Bus, Rick James and Change.
Wow.
They were all different, but I enjoyed it. That was my first time being exposed to, I had heard Rick James's music, but I didn't know that he was going to do all that in a concert. I was kind of
Have you
turned out a
were you
little bit.
traumatized a little bit?
a little bit. But,
what
I
did he
made it.
do?
Well, that was the tour. Tina Marie was on the tour, and he had the big joint. They pulled the big
Right.
joint on stage, and he smoked
Puffed
the big
it.
ass joint.
Puffed
and then he
and
was
didn't pass?
the guitar, and he was basically dry humping and freaking Tina Marie as they were singing with his guitar. Everything short of jabbing it between her legs
Wow.
and taking a pull of this big old joint
Rest in
on
peace
stage.
to both of them.
He was,
Legends.
he was busting out.
And busting loose.
Felt like busting loose.
Yeah, busting out.
Shout out to Chuck Brown,
Yeah,
one of my
Yeah.
heroes.
likewise.
But Young Hump, for you, hearing these stories and learning about all this stuff yourself, how do you find yourself being able to continue that legacy that Digital Underground was able to start 30 years ago and now carrying on that torch yourself?
Man, it's so much fun is really the best way to answer it. Like, we all know that the secret of life is to have fun. I mean, basically, if you whittle down all the ancient wisdoms from different parts of the globe, and it comes down to, enjoy and love what you're doing. So me being blessed to be invited and, it was brought to me. It wasn't like, can I get on stage and do the thing that y'all doing? It was a suggestion suggested by Shock and approved by Money B, and here we are. And so it's just so much fun because I, like all of us real hip-hop dudes, grew up loving those songs as much as anybody, if not more. And I just, to get the opportunity to don the cape, so to speak, and run around with this guy right here and just having too much fun. It's just fun. I just tap into the joy of it, you know what I mean? Because it's fun, and I happen to be a person with a creative mind that could really, add some ideas. I'm not playing the one trick pony like impersonator nigga type of role. I'm playing the like, well, shit, what can I add to it? What can I bring?
Right.
Because I was raised right.
Yeah, and if you've never seen a Money Being Young Hump show, this guy turns into another thing on stage. Sometimes I have to sit on the edge and just start watching him because he's.
There wasn't all this electronic equipment. I would bust this water to show you exactly what he means, but I
Yeah.
respect this production too much to interfere with any of this lovely
Right,
equipment.
it's crazy.
Well, thank
Sorry.
you. We appreciate your respect to the Soren Baker
Yeah,
show,
so,
Young
I
Hump.
mean, I
Thank
think
you.
the chemistry is
Supreme.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Supreme.
So with that, Money B, how and why did this happen? that we need Young Hump? Like, what's going on with Shock? Everybody's always asking me when they see that I talk to you or that I know you. That's the first question people ask me a lot of the time.
Well, Shock is kind of like, and always has been like this evil mastermind. You know what I mean? Because like he said, Shock was the one that put us together.
Mm-hmm.
And when he first mentioned it to me, I couldn't understand it. You know,
Okay.
I thought it was something else. You know what I mean? But I also know that Shock has always envisioned, you know, from the beginning, he always wanted Digital Underground to be an army.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? That's why if you look
Better in the Navy.
on the Sex
If
Packets,
you mess with Money B and Young Hump, you must be crazy.
on the Sex Packets album cover, you know, you have Sleuth is on the cover, who's the road manager.
Right.
My man Mac Moan was part of Raw Fusion. Smoothie Smooth, and just he would always, every time we did photos and were seen in public, he wanted to make sure it was a bunch of bodies,
And is
so that we seemed like a larger crew. And throughout the years, we just became larger because we brought people in like Tupac and Saphir and Mystic and
right?
Essential and the Loonies and, you know, all, you know, Fifth Mat, just a bunch, you know, I can go on for days, Gold Money or whatnot. But, you know, so I think even towards the future, you know, Shock's kind of taking like a hiatus of sorts, just kind of to do his own thing. But we are out there, you know, continuing and furthering the legacy, but also knowing that when Shock's ready, the Army's one great performer bigger. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
And then it allows for Shock to remain Shock G, which he's always wanted to be. I mean, people don't know that not Young Hump, but Humpty Hump is a character that has always been played by someone else here and there throughout our entire career.
Right.
You know,
That part.
from his brother Kent, who played Humpty in the same song video, to his man Webby, who was in a bunch of 8x10s that we did, to I forget this one of his other homeboys that was in like the Word Up magazines and things that we do. So,
Okay.
and that's how we always were able to keep the persona that it was two people. Because even though he was the mastermind behind the character, we would always place someone so that,
Genius shit.
you know, so the next time you see Shock, you're gonna see Shock G and Young Hump and Money
Facts.
B on stage.
Facts.
But Shock can really go all out to be Shock G.
Piano
whereas
Man,
that
baby.
character can fully be truly lived by the legacy holder, Young Hump.
And Shock told me, he said, you have to, he told me this early in the game, and it was such a jewel. He said, you have to understand that Hump is a character that I created. I'm not Hump. So you're not being me. You're being the character that I be. And I was like, damn, that shit opened my mind. Because, you know, you're trying to fill some gigantic shoes, but when you realize those shoes are like, there's not even no, you know, it's beyond that. It's not a person. You're not being another person. You're being a character. It's like, it made it a lot easier. And something I like to add, too, I like to reiterate that, like what he said and what I said earlier, is that it was Shock's suggestion. Like, I have to tell some of my peoples, like, I'm like, man, do you think I walked up to Shock and was like, hey, big bro, you think I could get on stage and get paid to rap your lyrics?
Right.
Like, I mean, I got nuts, but come on, I would never ask some shit like that. That was his suggestion. And then Money B, when we met, Mom's looking at me like, who is this motherfucker? But it just magically, you know, the universe has its own plans, and we just do our part, you know what I mean?
And I always equate it, just, you know, so people can kind of know what it is you equate it to James Bond or Batman.
Okay.
Sean Connery was
I'll be that.
He was one type of James Bond, and then what's the guy who played Remington Steele? He was
Pierce Bronson.
Yeah, he was a totally different one. So if you look at the movies, they're both this character, but they add their own thing to it. You understand? The same
Right.
way with the Batman.
And Roger Moore.
Roger Moore. I was trying to think of him, but you know what I mean.
I
They
got
were all different types of James Bonds.
You know, we've been talking a lot about Young Hump joining the fold, and Money B, one thing I wanted to get from you is back in the 88, 89 era of rap when Digital Underground was coming up and forming, I was always intrigued just by the concept when I was first starting to know what Digital Underground was more in 89, 90, but I had heard Underwater Rhymes first. And if I understand correctly, you weren't in the group when that was made?
Or wasn't.
Okay, you were not in the group. So my intel was correct. But
Correct.
But
I'm on the remix though.
But the thing I wanted to know is back in that era, you know, we're talking about the in my opinion, the golden era rap really of 88 being the peak and the pinnacle of rap as far as creativity, different things. But I wanted to know from you, when you hear Underwater Rhymes and then when you get brought into the fold and then you start understanding like, oh, I'm Shock G and I'm going to have this alter ego and I'm going to have these different personas and, you know, some of this isn't going to exist and then we're going to dress up like this on tour. Like, was that something because of knowing Parliament Funkadelic, knowing different things with Africa Bambaataa Soul Sonic Force, with what they used to wear? Like, what was your opinion of this idea and what made you comfortable to roll with it back then?
Two things. One, and I have to go back to, I remember the very first day I met Shock G.
Okay.
He walked in my house and it was for, excuse me, a meeting with and about DJ Fuse for him to become their DJ, because that's really what they wanted. But at the time, Fuse was renting a room from my mom in the apartment that we lived in.
Okay.
And we were just living there, and as a group with the 4-track and turntables in our room.
And this was the origins of Raw Fusion?
We were already Raw Fusion.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Me and Fuse were Raw Fusion before we met
Gotcha. Shock.
Digital.
Okay.
And the reason that they wanted Fuse because Fuse was us kind of putting ourselves out there, talent shows, just being in the Bay Area hip hop scene.
Right.
And also we used to be at college radio a lot, Calix, which is on UC Berkeley campus. Fuse had a name in the Bay as one of the tightest guys. And so they came through and Shock walks to the back and he's got these Pumas with tassels on them.
Okay.
This beret, this really tight members only jacket, and these sweatpants, and he just looked like and the big shades that he had on, right?
Okay.
So he just looked like this crazy dude, and remember he was a few years older than me.
And for people that don't know, Shock G's, how tall is he? Like 6'2", 6'3"?
Yeah, he's like 6'2".
So he's a taller gentleman.
Yeah, and I'm really short, but I remember my mom peeking out the room like, what's going, because she had never seen me around anybody that looked like that.
Okay.
She's like, what is he doing? Is he doing drugs?
Probably most people haven't
what's
seen
happening?
anyone like
you know
that.
what I mean? She was nervous.
Especially at the
and
house.
I was just like kind of looking, and mind you, Chop Master Jay was right behind him.
Okay.
And that's a whole nother thing.
Right.
And, but I learned really, really quickly, because the way that he looked, but then I learned shortly after meeting him, that he was an artist. He had drawing. So one of the first characters that I was introduced from Shock G was Rockadelic. That was his artist persona. And he did the art on most of our first, he did the Do What You Like cover. He did,
What did he do?
He did the Humpty Dance.
Okay.
He did.
And we're taking since we're all in this room fans of Schoolie D, that's something that I always enjoyed about Digital Underground too. Just like Schoolie D drew his first early singles and album covers.
Right.
That we saw a little art coming through with Digital Underground.
Exactly. So,
I like that.
Schoolie D, Shock G, Andre 3000.
There you go, man. Some of the all-time greats.
De La did some of their stuff
Rappers,
too.
producers that were geniuses.
So,
look at that.
So it was like very apparent right on that he had all these ideas and he had all of this art coming out of him. So, when I heard Underwater Rhymes, I thought it was dope. I like the whole idea of Blowfish.
Right.
But I didn't think anything of it like, okay, he has like a million of them. But as the years, every time we did something, he introduced, Humpty Hump, Peanut Hakeem, Dirty Red. He had a million characters, but they were all just ideas of a part of his personality that he felt like sharing or introducing, because people look at you crazy if you're talking one way, and then all of a sudden you become this other thing and other thing. So he had to get that out by introducing these other characters. So, and then the second thing about it, which made me accept it, is because when I was very young, I was really kind of confident of myself. So my idea was like, I don't give a fuck. Whatever they doing, I'm going to be dope. So I'm with it. If that makes sense.
Nice.
And
You know what I mean? So I was like, all right, cool. If that's what he's doing, that's cool.
So how did it go from bringing Fuse into the fold to bringing both of you into the fold?
Long story short.
Because you're that dope?
No.
No?
Because Shock wasn't really a fan of West Coast rappers at the time. And I'm not going to say he didn't like anything West, but he wasn't a fan of the West Coast dialect.
Okay.
You know, and by that, you know, one of the things he used to say that I sounded like Too Short, which I didn't. It's the only thing that was similar was that.
You're from Oakland?
Yeah, is that we had the same type of slang and we kind of had the same type of dialect. So he wasn't really, remember he was fresh from Tampa by way of New York.
Right.
So he really wasn't engulfed in West Coast culture, so he wasn't a huge fan of it. So to him, I was just like, he's all right. But Fuse was like, I'll fuck with it if you fuck with Money B. Because we're, you know.
Partners. Right.
Yeah, we roll like that. So Fuse is really solely responsible for me being in the group. But, you know, me and Shock have talked about it, and he told me, he's like, look, I wasn't a fan of it, but if I thought you were whack, I would have said no regardless. So he didn't hate what I did, but he just wasn't, he wouldn't have chose me.
Gotcha.
You know, but he was cool with it.
But the Lord chose.
Right. And then after we started rocking,
it all worked out.
Yeah, just the contrast of it was a beautiful thing. You know.
And then you know, we've talked about a lot of different things over the years, but one thing I was also interested too, along with Underwater Rhymes, was the distinctiveness of Do What You Like, because obviously Humpty Dance came out and was, you know, to most people the defining single of the group, but I always thought Do What You Like sonically, structure-wise, and all these other things on the music side was much more interesting, innovative, distinctive, and
conceptually wise, conceptually.
Yeah, so
that's real shit. When I DJ, I'll always play Do What You Like. I don't always play Humpty Dance.
And why is that?
You said it. It's a wilder song. It's more of a planet. I mean, compare. It's like they're both perfect, amazing, brilliant songs. But Do What You Like is more like you've laid a fucking planet down. Like, this is a new world. You know, Humpty Dance is like this springboard for this personality, and the track slaps like nothing else, and it's the funkiest shit ever. But Do What You Like feels like more like an event. So when you play it in a party, if it's the right kind of party that isn't just listening for Future 5, you know, if you have a crowd of people that really love their shit, when you throw that on, I've seen people that you could tell they didn't know the song, and they're like, this is.
Well, do you ever, when you DJ, cut in the Dougie Fresh? Shout out to my daughter Lauren, she loves Dougie Fresh. Do you ever cut that in? Keep riding to the top.
I never have, but I'm aware of the sample, and I'm yes, but I haven't.
Shout me out when you do, please.
I sure will.
And so what's crazy about that is
guys and girls dancing.
When Shock first played it for us when we went to the studio do it, I didn't like it because it was so different, and I was so used to just straight up hip hop. So it took me a long time to really kind of, even after we recorded it and it was becoming, you know, whatever it became, because that was the success of Do What You Like allowed us to get the album deal and to record Sex Packets. But I wasn't a huge fan of it. But it's so crazy because I just remember him just saying, trust me, just do it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then I did, and I always tell people, like, sometimes you have to just, you know, you just trust it. It's, you know, if your partner is saying, nah, just do it. Sometimes somebody else's idea or opinion might not be yours, but it may not be for you to understand at the moment. But if you just roll with it and you lend your positive energy to, something, even if you don't understand it, it can, look what it can turn into.
Right.
Because if I had just said, hell no, that's whack,
Right.
I might not be here right now.
It's a distinct possibility.
I took that leap of faith and just jumped off the ledge.
And shout out to Eric B. and Rakim. But
Word.
the thing also that was remarkable about it leading to Sex Packets was the fact that, in 1990, there weren't really, other than, I'd say, you and Kwame with the Polkadelic Adventure, there really weren't theme albums or concept albums to the magnitude that you had with Sex Packets.
Mm-hmm.
So for you, what role, when the album is being executed, did you have in the Sex Packets part and the theme and the concept to help bring it to life the way that it ended up everyone hearing it?
Man, we had pamphlets, seminars, like we had meetings to talk about it. No, for real, because this was something that it wasn't just going to be an album; it was a movement. And I want to say in Shock and Smoothie Smooth, who really came up with the idea together, believe that if we had gotten enough funding, we was trying to really create
these
actual Sex Packets.
Uh-huh.
So it was as real in our mind, like we went out and did, we go out to strip clubs and experiment, like really do research.
And what is that research, Money B? Please explain that to the listeners.
No, we'd stand out, late 3 a.m, strippers coming out of strip club and hand them the pamphlet and talk about it and get their opinion about it and what the best thing about it should be and this, that, and the other.
That's amazing.
Like we took that shit serious.
And then did you ever go, like, for real looking at investors or trying to get it going for real?
I think the album came out. We started kicking it.
Okay.
Not.
You're like, you're like, this is
don't-
working over here.
I don't know if we got that far, but I do remember that we really did have meetings about what this. We had to be informed on exactly what the scientific explanation
was going to
be, and we had to have all the information. We had to know, so whenever we talked about it, we could talk about it intelligently, thoroughly. Yeah. It was real.
Wild, man.
It is real. It is real.
Amazing.
At this time in rap is 1990. So we had heard very explicit records from Schoolie D, from Ice-T, from Too Short, from Eazy-E, from NWA, and others, and then Ghetto Boys among them. And then when we get to Digital Underground, they're exploring this other component of sex in a way that I thought was rather ingenious to create the packet, shall we say. But for you guys, for a lot of some of the stuff that you guys are doing now, you also have overtly like sexual stuff going on in your lyrics. Yes, like the Come Here record, among others. So that
Slow Stroke It.
Smash right.
Smash right.
And obviously you have Too Short on the Come Here record.
Yeah, we do.
So what is it about that type of rhyme, Money B, for the legacy part of it, and Young Hump for the today part of it, and Money B for today as well? But what is it about that type of subject matter do you think is still intriguing, interesting, or worthwhile for you guys?
Start it.
That's
your thing.
Miss my thing. Okay. Yeah, exactly. I had a whole other remix of it. I was gonna say, well, first of all, it don't get any more essence than sex. Like at the end of the day, the number one subject matter of all music in the history of recorded music translates to sex. Because even if the guy is saying "I long to hold you at night," is talking about sex. Even if it's "You are my love that I want to fuck," it all comes down to some boning. So we just really get right to it. Like, and it's fun. It's humorous. We like to put smiles on people's faces and crack the ice. Money being Young Hump is master ice crackers. We crack the ice and we, take it right to their face.
Pour the drink. Everything.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Fun. It's a lot of
Give
fun.
it to you. Yeah, it's in the legacy side of it. I think when we did Sex Packets, or even just take a song like Freaks in the Industry, we thought of everything you said. You know, there was, at the time, 2 Live Crew was rocking.
Yeah.
Of course, Too Short. You know, Eazy-E. And, you know, you go back to This Girl's a Slut with Just Ice and all that. Everybody always talked about how they got it, they got satisfied, and they left the bitch where she was. You know, I got mine, and that's it.
You know, I'm a hoe.
Yeah. So it was always from the male's perspective of
The male conqueror.
yeah, conquering, getting it, winning, and then getting away clean. And we just kind of came up or thought of like, what if somebody actually started speaking about pleasure, you know, pleasuring the woman and make sure that she had just as much of a good time as we did. Like enjoy it together, you know, so we can still be freaky because women, they love it, but not to degrade them at the same, you know, do it without degrading them.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And we were successful with Freaks Under Industry, but just the whole concept, Sex Packets, Gutfest 89, goes to what Young Hump said. You know, we know that sex is fun, and we wanted to have fun. And sex, you know, people say love, but sex is the universal language.
There
you know,
you
you
go.
pull your dick out, they know what's happening. You know what I mean? You can speak Slazitstanian.
Masculine and feminine. The key goes into the door lock, the door hole.
Yeah.
You
Park the
understand?
car in the
We
garage.
all get open.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
And with Freaks of the Industry, too, since you brought it up, I was always intrigued by the kind of multiple choice that was going on in the song. Do you remember
Right.
how that came to be?
Probably from an episode that Shock really had.
Okay.
I can only imagine. Like, you know, when we did the song, originally that song was supposed to be just for Shock.
Okay.
So we kind of wrote that verse together, and that's why it's the longer of the verses.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
that verse is like 30 bars long, and then my verse is 12 bars or so, because at the very last minute, Shock was like, you want to get on this? And I was like, all right. So
Matter
I
of
wrote
fact,
it
I do.
right there on the spot. But, and when I say helped him write it, I didn't write the rhymes, but we were kicking around ideas, and what if we say this, and what if we say that? But I don't remember exactly what made
The multiple choice.
the multiple choice. So I can only think that is some personal experience shit that he had.
Okay.
When you're reviewing your options, sometimes it's nice to articulate your options.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny you say that, because I think a lot of people, you know, you can really take a moment and think about things. And when you do that, you tend to make better decisions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or you look back at the bad decision that you made by moving too fast.
Yeah.
You're like, God damn it, I should have did.
It's like they say, all the great, you know, leaders from Michelangelo to George Washington to all those type of people that all the biographies in the world are written about, they all wrote a lot of lists. You know, I listened to this interview, and the guy who did a lot of biographies on these people, and he said, what was the one thing in common is they all wrote a lot of lists.
Okay.
So, you know, making lists is very crucial. You know, get up, brush my teeth, you know, take trash out, fuck wifey, make sure you have a lot of things you can get done in a day if you write them down, as opposed to having 30 things in your head just juggling around. So it's the same thing. Do you want to, you know, even in a sexual experience, should I take, you know,
Walk right over and you pound them.
But the beautiful thing is how it's kind of like
D is what I do.
Yeah, that's what I'll say. All of the above. All of the above is what you don't see coming. Like pun intended. You don't see that coming because you're just like, what's he gonna say? And then it's all of the above.
Yeah, like that old joke. You know, it's a long joke. We got at the end when the guy says, "Hey, let's run down there and fuck that bull," and he goes, "No, let's walk down there and fuck them all."
Shout out to Colors.
Yeah, it's from Colors, but I had heard that joke somewhere before too.
I believe it. I first was exposed to it in Colors as a young man. But that being said, as you guys, I know you guys have material work on Money B. You have a solo project. You also are working on the soundtrack for your book still?
Correct.
So how do you find since you've been involved in so many different things over the years with Raw Fusion, with Digital Underground, with your solo career, and now doing the reincarnated or the latest installment of Digital Underground, how have you found you're able to kind of jump in between these different worlds while still doing all of your collaborations?
Well, if you think about it, it's what I've always done.
Mm-hmm.
Because in '92, we had 24-hour block of Starlight Studios for 2 months. We were working on Sons of the P, Live from the Stylytron, Tupacalypse Now, and the Gold Money album, all at the same time.
Wow.
And we were all just popping in each session. So it was, the thing, and, I'll share the one thing that I always share with Young Hump is just to continue to make content, like never stop. So there's going to be a Young Hump solo album. There's Money B solo stuff. Even I have content where there can be a soundtrack to my book because I'm just making so much content that it has to get out. And the thing about when you do that, I'll make it not even knowing where it's gonna land.
Okay.
I'll do it and then I'll play it for him. If he loves it, then it's a Money B and Young Hump song. If he doesn't, then it's a Money B song, or it's a Money B and Big Hutch song, or it's a soundtrack song with Crazy Bone, or whatever. I've been approached. I did an album in from like 2009 to 2012. I worked with artist Scotty Knox out of Milwaukee, and me and him talked about doing an EP just for whatever, because I'm just like, just keep making content.
Right.
And I try to put that across to everybody that I work with. Whatever you do, just keep making content. Don't worry about where it's going to land or whose album it's going to be on. Just keep doing it, because we didn't know. Everybody knows the famous story about I Get Around. Mm-hmm. It went from a Digital Underground track to a Saphir track, and it ended up on Tupac's album.
Right.
It was a dope beat, and when when it was time to do it, wherever it was placed, we just did it. Mm-hmm. So I don't so much worry about how it's going to sound or keeping this vibe for that or keeping it. I like to just continue to make music and just keep doing it, because who knows, maybe some of it won't get out, but if I'm not here, something tragic happens, then, somebody will find it, and then something, something else
live forever.
Something else will be done with it. Mm-hmm. But so to answer your question, it's not difficult, and it doesn't take planning to go, okay, this is only going to be for this and that, because if it's time for Young Hump's album to come out, but he needs one more song and mine is not, but I have a song that we're both on, then that song will go on that album.
Well, the reason I think it's interesting for you in particular is that with Shock G in particular, having so many different personalities and different things that he's done throughout the years, that you have kind of navigated these other ways not in such grand announcements, but you've been able to articulate and I think bring out a little bit different sides of your personality, a little bit, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean,
based on project.
Okay, then.
Like that classic song with Jason Kidd on the NBA album.
Yeah, what the kid
Come
did.
on, man, classic.
But I will say this,
talking about Jerry Curls on Raw Fusion.
A little of that is true, because Money B and Young Hump are about fun and get the party started for the most part. Now, I'll do something. And like I said, I always present it to my brother, like, what you think about this?
Okay.
But then if, sometimes if it's really personal, then I'll be like, this is probably just going to be something I do over here. Mm-hmm. But if he likes it and he wants to get down with it, then we're going to do it like that. My thing is like, wherever it can come out first, then that's where it should be. Mm-hmm. And if it fits, then let's rock and roll.
And as we're talking about different personas, different things going on, for you, Young Hump, when you were approached, you got the idea and the invitation, what was it about the glasses and the nose that you were like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and rock this. This is cool.
Oh, man. It's just my pimp molecules, just responding to the nature of it. I mean, it's so much fun. And it's a whole other, it's like the greatest alley-oop to your wildest fashion fantasies. Once you throw the nose and glasses on, it's like it co-activates different opportunities with other fashion approaches. Like, I'm naturally a fashionista just because. But when you throw the nose and glasses on, it's like a whole other like set of lanes. Not even just a lane, but it's like it's like when you the first time you do mushrooms or something and you really just, oh, that's how the world is. And that's what I like about it. You know, it's just like you can do so much and everything is more exciting.
Yeah, believe it or not, I think everybody in the world wishes they could be some sort of hump, you know, in the hump
Please
family.
explain that, Money B.
It's just like, you know, you can let your full Mac come out.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You know, you can just go on the
You could
straight
be the Packet Man.
Gangster Mac pimp mode, because that's what Humpty Hump is, and Young Hump is the next level of
that.
humptiness.
Yeah, we out here. You know, it's fun, and you know, it's almost indescribable in a way, because it's like you could be Humpty Hump for Halloween and you put the stuff on, but it's Halloween though, right? Mm-hmm. So you dealing with the dynamic of the power is brought down because everybody's dressed up.
Okay.
But see, when it's November 5th or it's February 9th or September 16th and you got on this nose and they're looking at you like, and the funniest is people that don't know, like like some young people that don't know. We did a show in it was in Helsinki, Finland.
Okay.
We backstage and this young brother comes back there, and I don't know what he was doing there, but he was friends with somebody. He was there, and he's like, "Hey man, what's up with the nose?" And I looked at him. I said, "You, sir, have homework to do." Because you're sitting in front of a flyer. This is Digital Underground, so you have homework to do. And then he tried to say something, and I told him that he wasn't going to win because he wasn't as funny as I am, so he couldn't win. But then his boys, like I heard his boys in the language they speak, in Finnish. Thank you. Okay. As I'm trying to finish, explaining to them like, what, Digital Underground, Humpty Hump, and he's sitting there like, oh shit, I fucked up. Hilarious.
Shout out
Yeah,
to
but I
Bill
remember when you said you're not gonna win because
you're not gonna win because I'm funnier than you and I'm always gonna be funnier than you. So you're not gonna win. So just bow down. You messed up.
Yeah, you killed him.
And that's kind of like
it's like walking up to Flavor Flav. Pardon me. It's like saying, "What's up with the clock, man?"
Right.
It's like you have homework to do, homeboy.
Yeah, man.
Leave now. Get started.
Tighten up.
Clearly, they don't know what time it is.
That part.
So I know one of Money B's, if not his favorite album, is Born to Mac from Too Short.
Facts.
Correct.
So Young Hump, what's your favorite album and why?
Wow, my favorite album and why? Damn, it's going to get so weird right now. My favorite rap album would have to be, damn, man. See, Soren, man, I'm such a nerd. You're going to take me, I don't want to, like, the show's going to be over. I'm still going to be sitting here with the lights out. But okay.
We'll make it
my
brief.
favorite album, but this is the thing. I sort of feel like I have to, in order to answer it, I'm not saying it's the best because I make a clear distinction. I think the best rap album ever is Death Certificate. The best rap album. That's my opinion.
Okay, that's
and
what
we can go long into
phenomenal.
that, but I think that's the best.
Phenomenal piece of work. Sadly,
think,
still very relevant today.
Yeah, I think there's a part of me that always says only built for Cuban links because I am that Wu-Tang guy. Okay. But my favorite rap album is Street Level by the Beatnuts.
Really?
Now, let me explain why. And I'm going to make it short because I know I'll go along with it. Okay, basically, it's
Shout
because...
out to Juju and Psycho Les.
Man, those is my motherfucking brothers. It's because there's a lot of acoustic bass, and I like acoustic bass. Okay. And it's kind of got a combination of... Like they also the fact that they both produce the beats, they both rhyme, they talk the hip hop shit, the street shit, they talk about the records. I make beats. I'm not really the street nigga, but I'm out here and I buy records, and it's like everything they talking about I can relate. I can't really per se as much relate to.
They also have some rather explicit songs about ladies. Also.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Psycho Les likes to eat the pussy. So there's all of that. It just, for me, when I listen to it, it feels the most like I could relate to it, and I really can't understress the part about the jazz samples, because it's a jazz, as you know, everybody always talks tribe when they talk jazz samples
or Gangster,
absolutely, but in terms of the acoustic bass, there's no record. You got that, as you there's no album that I think was done better that has that, so it beats like Ron Carter, what's up, it just, for me, when I listen to it, it feels like,
well, Young Hump, what we're gonna have to do,
I know,
I appreciate it, is if and when your time permits, we'll have to have you come on Unique Access and do a special episode where we just talk about street level.
Oh, let's fucking go.
Yeah,
let's go.
That's going to be a classic.
You've already done Death Certificate, I know.
Yes, we have. RBX selected that. That was phenomenal.
Street level, yeah, I'm your guy. I'm your guy.
Strangely, no one's done Only Built for Cuban Links yet.
I could do both.
But I think street level is more unlikely to be selected, so I'd prefer to discuss that. Plus, I think Raekwon, I think all three of us could agree, gets a lot more credit than the Beatnuts do, so I'd like to give the Beatnuts a little shine.
Nice, well put.
Yes.
Well put.
So I'd be very excited to make that happen when we're able to.
Absolutely.
I know you guys are all around the world traveling, but
absolutely,
that's going to be a phenomenal episode.
It sure is. Yes. It sure is.
So now, as we wrap up the Soren Baker Show on this episode with Money B and Young Hump, Money B, Young Hump, why don't you guys let everyone know what you got going on, as far as, I know you guys got new music coming out, and then also how to find you guys online and social media.
All right, so our new single is Be Cool, and we actually shot the video in Budapest, Hungary.
Facts.
When we toured.
It's a lot of bridges in that video.
Oh,
sure
man.
Is. Take it to the bridge.
Yeah, we did. We took it to the bridge.
The bridge is not over, though.
You know,
that's right.
We had a lot of fun making it there, but Young Hump, tell them exactly what the song is about. It's called Be Cool. But
yes.
Be Cool is about, basically, we all know somebody or several people that just need to be cool. It could be your best friend. It could be your aunt. It could be your dad. It could be a little homie, just somebody that needs to just relax, and just be cool. So what we did is, I took the perspective, I'm telling the girls, like, just be cool, baby, relax, just kick it, be cool. And then Mun takes the perspective telling the dudes, like, yo, homie, just relax, be cool, player.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And
slow down.
yeah, we one of our things we like to do is we love to, in our songs, we look for it as much as possible to each of our verses, because the hook is the concept, but the verses, we try to take an angle, like I'm gonna hit this angle, you hit that angle, kind of like when you yeah, so that's what it's about, just telling people to be cool.
Right. And it's produced by
my man Mike Ballard.
Yeah, Mike Ballard, he did his thing.
And shout out real quickly, sorry to interrupt you, Mun, but I do also want to give a shout out to the mechanics who you guys have worked with, because they
Ratchet Love.
They're another collective that I really like that doesn't get a lot of shine. So just wanted to shout them out, because I know you guys
Rax
work
Tweed,
with
what up, baby? Love y'all.
And I was gonna say, there's an array of other Money B and Young Hump singles that are out there in the world.
Yes.
Come Here, featuring Too Short, produced by the Mechanics. We had the little underground street thing, Smash Right, getting it in. What else we had? Slow Stroke It, featuring Essential, Digital Underground alumni. And then I have the Money B single, Testify, with Razcast, Planet Asia, and Tri-State.
Big up my brothers.
And VT. So, we just...
Produced by Maxwell Benson. What up,
yeah, homie? Maxwell Benson. And we, our thing is, the climate now is a single-driven market.
Right.
So it's just about keep putting that content out there, because you never know which one is going to hit. But if you stay consistent, somebody might say, hey, they're rocking, let me just see what they're going to do next. And right now you kind of have to just, you have to bring them along. And then when somebody discovers you, they might like this, they might like your 6th single, but if they really like it, they'll go back and discover the previous 5. So
and then how do people discover you on social media?
Great segue.
Yeah.
You can
smooth. I should try hosting the show.
You can always find me on social media, Twitter and Instagram at MoneyB69, like the position.
And mine's is Young Hump DU. The DU is for try to figure it out, Digital Underground, and it's spelled correctly. He spells Money B correctly. I spell Young and Hump correctly. We can spell. We were educated, and we are here to educate.
Right, and of course, for the old heads, if you're on Facebook, you know what I'm saying, you go to the Digital Underground fan page. That's what's up. But I also want to make sure everybody checks out dumerch.com, where you can find your Money B and Young Hump and Digital Underground merchandise. That's right.
As
exclusively.
They should.
All the player colors.
Exclusively at dumerch.com.
We got the hot merchandise. That's for real.
And if you're on Instagram at dumerch, you can browse through and see what you like. Shop how you like.
Yeah.
Buy what you like.
There it is, y'all.
Do what you like.
After you buy Soren Baker's book, come fuck with us.
Yeah, the history of gangster rap. Make sure you guys pick that one up too.
Serious business.
Up.
In stores worldwide.
That's
and
right.
Money B, Young Hump, thank you guys very much. Always a pleasure catching up with you guys. Thank you for coming through to the Soren Baker Show.
Thanks
Appreciate
for
you,
having
King.
us.
Yes. And until next time, we will catch you on the rebound. The Soren Baker Show.
And everybody, be cool.
And do what you like. Ba-da-da-da-da.
Right.